Our last FBS game on our slate here, we have number 14 Utah on the road at USC. The Trojans are 7-point home favorites. This game carries an over-under of 56 points, and it kicks off at 8 p.m. Eastern on Fox's primetime night window. USC was bet up from minus 6.5 on Wednesday. Not insignificant, moving on to a key figure. I'm keeping an eye out to see if Utah gets buyback or if it moves all the way through 7 or just maybe not at all. It's kind of looking like at this point, the writing's kind of on the wall. There's a lot of rumors out there. Cam Rising probably just not going to play it all this season. It was one of those things where maybe he's ready for week 1. We're optimistic he can play in week 1. Now he's looking at a medical red shirt, maybe not playing at all. Backup Brandon Rose, the one that suffered that really scary camp injury, he's also looking at a medical red shirt, which means it's probably the Bryson Barnes show. He was the guy last game and appears to be in line to start again this week. Last week, surprise, can't say I accounted for Caleb Williams throwing 3 interceptions. It gave Notre Dame all sorts of short fields. Let's just put it out there. He's out of the Heisman race. I think he's firmly cemented himself out of that, playing against the big national TV game, playing that poorly. USC remaining scheduled 10th hardest in the country. And boy, is it a tough stretch, even situationally, including Notre Dame. At Notre Dame, then they host Utah. They go to Cal. The Golden Bears are off a bye. Watch out for my upsets article next week. It's definitely probably going to be in there. I've been talking about it since the preseason. And then they come home and face Washington. They go to Oregon, and then they play UCLA, their rival. And then interestingly, they get a bye week before conference championship week. So if they cement a spot by winning these games in the Pac-12 championship, that's going to be very interesting. I don't know how many teams in the past decade have had a bye week going into conference championship week. I'm not sure that we'll see a more diametrically opposed matchup all season long. Utah, 116th in offensive efficiency so far and 3rd in defensive efficiency. On the other side, USC, 9th in offensive efficiency and 105th in defensive efficiency. So this is a really interesting matchup that I honestly don't have a lot of firm beliefs in. I don't really know what to expect. It's going to be interesting to sit back and watch. The biggest issue with me, though, is the Utah offense. They're one-dimensional. They're not explosive in the run or pass game. The offensive line hasn't been great. Can USC's defense make them explosive? Maybe.
Yeah, Brett, this is a game. It's got a watchability score of 8.9 out of 10. Makes it the number 4 game of the week for me. Again, like I talked about with Tennessee, Alabama, that doesn't factor in the ultimate revenge factor for a USC program that lost to this Utah squad not once but twice last year. But I have to say, this is a game, I'm still excited about it. Number 4 game of the week. It's going to be on. It won't be on the main screen. I think it's the number 2 game of the window that it's in. But it'll be, I'll have my eyes on it, that's for sure. This is a game, though, that, just to be honest, in the preseason, this was one I really had circled. Cam Rising hasn't played. Utah still only has 1 loss. People they're kind of writing them off because of this, and I'm not saying the numbers disagree. I'll get to that in a minute, but this team still only has 1 loss with a bunch of tough games coming up. USC, they only have 1 loss too. Now, granted, their toughest games are coming up. So nothing is lost yet for either of these teams if you're being completely honest about, chances to win the Pac-12, chances to make the CFP. If you're 12-1 Pac-12 champion, you've got a good chance to make the CFP because you've got some good wins on your resume for these 2 teams in particular because of the schedule they have to play. So nothing is lost for these teams. That is what I would say to the fans of these 2 squads who are probably feeling down about the seasons that they've had because it hasn't been as good or as perfect as maybe they would have wanted it to be. Nothing's lost yet is kind of what I would say to them. This week, something will become lost for one of these teams. That's how you know it's such a big game. So I'm excited about it. The model was all over Utah in both of last year's matchups. People were telling me I was crazy, took a lot of heat for it. I'm just sitting here like, guys, the numbers are the numbers. Don't hate me. I don't know what else to tell you. Utah wins both those games. It likes USC this time around, though. I have USC minus 7.5 in this one. It's a 71% win expectancy. That said, it's not all roses for USC following their first loss of the season last week against Notre Dame. I said nothing is lost yet, but it could be if we don't get some improvement here. The Trojans, K Ford rating 16.2. That's number 14 nationally. Both of those marks, rating and corresponding ranking, season lows for the Trojans. Additionally, this offense had been number 1 in the country since week 2. They're now down to a season low number 4. So the sky is not falling. You still have the number 4 offense, but that's the worst that the Trojans have been all year. So again, relative to this team, trending in the wrong direction. Meanwhile, the defense continues to be a problem. It's ranking number 62 nationally. I say it every week. I won't belabor the point. It's a problem. Like USC, Utah's power rating is at a season low. It's 10.8. The Utes, as they always do, have a strong defense. It ranks number 8 nationally, but without Cam Rising, as we've talked about, this offense has not nearly been what I projected. It's fallen now to number 63. You mentioned it, Brett, kind of the diabolical nature of the two matchups in this game, offense, defense, defense, offense. The USC offense and the Utah defense, as you said, it should be an outstanding matchup. Both teams rank in the top 10 for me in terms of efficiency and the power rating of these units. The other matchup, though, again, as you talked about, it's just not nearly as juicy. I mean, my numbers give USC the very slight edge on both sides here. USC has fallen behind Washington and Oregon in the Pac-12 championship game projections. Even though Oregon has a conference loss, I'm still projecting Oregon with a better chance to make the Pac-12 championship than USC right now. I mean, that's pretty telling at this point. The Trojans are still undefeated in conference play, though. Notre Dame is not a conference game. Again, nothing is lost yet. With a win in this one, their chances, USC's that is, to make it to Las Vegas are back up to 50%. On the other hand, Utah does have that conference loss. They still have to play Oregon and Washington after this game against USC. So if the Utes want any shot of making it to Las Vegas, this is a must-win game. USC, if they want to make the playoff, it's a must-win game. But if they want to make it to Las Vegas, the USC could drop this one. And if they take care of business down the road, I still feel good about their chances, but it just eliminates their margin of error. Utah, their margin of error is gone already because you lost to Oregon State. Another really good team, by the way, but must-win game. There's so much on the line. I'm excited. Bottom line, USC minus 7.5, 29% chance that Utah makes it 4 in a row in this series, Brett, against the Trojans. You can't tell me that Utah fans, for as disappointed as they may be about, hey, no Cam Rising and the year's not going the way we wanted to, you can't tell me for a second how happy it wouldn't make Utah fans to say, all right, 4 in a row against the Trojans, out the door. See ya. You guys are going to the Big 10. We're going to the Big 12. Talk to you later. 4 in a row, guys. And who knows when the next time they're going to play is. Utah fans will love to lord that over USC fans' heads for as long as it takes until these two teams get together again in a non-conference game.
Yeah, just to kind of, I guess, talk about process for a moment. And I try to take people through processes when I break down these games, when I handicap them. Sometimes if I get too far in the weeds with stats and metrics and players and matchups, I get stuck. And that's what happened with this game. I'm like, well, I'm at a point where I'm just like, I don't know. So sometimes I dial it back, and I like to play the underthink game. And I know that that's something that will make some real diehard, sports bettors and people at analytics people like their skin crawl. But if I have to underthink it, I probably trust USC's offense to score more than Utah's, even against USC's defense. I'm not sure it's enough to lay the points per se at this point. Certainly not on the other side of 7. It might be gross, and I got burned once for zagging with that Penn State-Iowa total. I'm never going to live that down. I'm not going to let myself live it down. But, Kelly, I think I lean under the total here. It's probably dumb, but what Utah is probably going to try to do, what I expect them, what I would do if I were in their shoes, shorten the game, play ball control. Kyle Whittingham is a good coach, and he knows what happens if you give Caleb Williams more opportunities. Bad news. No matter how good your defense is, they're filled with NFL talent, and Caleb Williams is going to make things happen. They're going to find the end zone. I know what he did last week, but it's what's going to happen. Like you said, law of averages. You keep giving him the football, he's going to find opportunities to score. So if I'm Utah, I'm running the ball, trying to shorten the game, ball control, under. That's how I got to that conclusion there.